Hi, I'm Gregg Barnes, and I'm the costume designer for Something Rotten. It's 1595, and we're in Shakespeare's England, and the story is the story of two brothers that are playwrights trying to make their name in a city that is consumed with Shakespeare. And he's a rock star, and they can't make headway. So one of the brothers goes to a soothsayer to figure out what the future might hold. And that sort of gets the ball rolling. When I met with Casey Nicolau to determine the tone and the kind of overall design idea for the show, we went back and forth quite a bit about how much we were going to reference the anachronistic quality of the music and the story, and we decided to really make it look like a Shakespearean comedy. So we tried to really land it in a classic, comedic, Shakespearean vocabulary. This is one of the costumes from the opening number. It's called Welcome to the Renaissance, and in the number there's a collection of rich people and poor people and wenches and writers. So you can see from the sketch how we realized the costume. We tried to treat the lower part of it in it's very light. It's almost like a ballet. It's layers of sheer stuff so that it dances nicely and it's not weighed down with a lot of heavy fabrics. And I love how on this, you can see, like, this is just an underlayer, and then the people, the shop that made it, Corelli Costumes, they cut out these little flowers, and then they applicate them on the top of this layer, so that it sort of helps the pattern bleed through. So there's a lot of really beautiful workmanship in the costumes. You know, traditionally, when you produce classic rep kind of plays that are set in this time period, there's a sort of weight to the clothing, and part of our experimental journey with the piece was to find a way to make the clothes light, make them dance. There's a lot of tap dancing in the show, which of course you don't do in The Taming of the Shrew. So we have this very correct Elizabethan world, and then I've tried to find ways to subtly introduce anachronisms into that. We looked at iconic rock stylings, you know, people from the 70s and 80s. We went through a little phase where they had a lot of mascara. We tried that, and which we're actually are doing in a slightly subtler way. You'll see there's a lot of torso, a lot of skin, and it's fit very tight, almost like motorcycle leathers, you know how they wear those pants so tight. The main anachronisms land themselves with Shakespeare and his cronies, and we tried to find a kind of rock and roll vocabulary for them. So those costumes they're made out of stretched leather, so they fit in a very contemporary way, and yet they still are truly the shapes of everything. The doublet, it's really more about the fit. Everything is very traditional in terms of how it's patterned. This is a doublet that's worn by one of Shakespeare's backup boys, and it's made out of leather, and you can see that we've inserted cording in the panels that really exactly duplicates how they make a motorcycle jacket. Oftentimes it's on the sleeves. I found a website called DeviantArt, and there was a guy on that website that makes jackets. Picture that you have like a camouflage leather jacket, like a pea coat, and it's all appliqued with these Celtic or sort of old form, very complicated embroideries. And I thought, oh, this is perfect because it looks rock and roll, it looks contemporary, and yet it also uses these shapes that are Elizabethan. Here are the pants that go with that doublet, and you can see that they really do very much resemble a motorcycle pair of pants. And they're made out of leather that is stretchy. They actually take a very thin leather, and in the process they smock it almost, or they ease it onto a stretchy back so that there is, it's not a lot, it's not like a pair of spandex pants, but there is a stretch to it. I guess the main feature when you think about an Elizabethan costume is the ruff. A ruff is a collar, many different kinds of them. It's pleated on a band, and it almost looks like, I hate to use the word clown, but it has a kind of, it frames the face really beautifully. It makes your head look like it's sitting on a decorative platter. Here you can see the ruff and how it frames the face. And in this case, there are little ruffs on the sleeve ends as well. And this is another example of how we tried to keep the bottom light. So this costume consists of many different fabrics, but they're all in the same color world. So you have the bodice is one brocade, The sides and the peplum, it's called, are another. It's lined with a third. The sleeves are a fourth. The underskirt is a fifth. There's a sixth. Here's a seventh. What's under here? There's an eighth. The men's clothes tend to be elegantly, almost effeminate, because she was in power, Elizabeth, the queen, and her silhouette was very commanding, and it was almost like she took on the role of a visual male. She took up a lot of space. So you have a farthingale, you have a lot of skirt, you have a very long bodice that looks powerful, big sleeves. But I think that the main thing is probably the ruff that always says we're in Elizabethan England. I think the audience will be surprised at the kind of the like modern vigor of the piece, if you will. It's like the sound of it has got a lot of rock and roll in it, and it takes you by surprise. And it's funny to see people that are dressed in classic Elizabethan attire shake their booty.
Welcome to the Renaissance. Everything is new. Because Renaissance means rebirth.